Through the years, we all remember when we first witnessed a national tragedy. We remember the good times and the bad times through either a song, a TV show, a monumental sports achievement, or even the smell of a particular food from when we were young. Welcome to the show that will take you on a journey through time to relive those iconic moments. Welcome to RTW Rewind, where old school rules. So, without any further delay, let's introduce you to the host of the show, Rad Rob Francois.
Hey guys, welcome back to RTW Rewind. I am your host, Rad Rob Francois. I hope everybody's doing well all around the world, and thank you for being here. I have a very special guest with me right now. He is from the two-man power trip Empire, the Triple Threat podcast with Shane Douglas and John Paz. Eyes up here with Francine, and one of the stars of the hit YouTube series Get My Go. There, man. It is one and only the Chadster. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you I'm not depressed after listening to that intro video. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm ready to get retro tonight. That was woof, man. That's very all-encompassing to a lot of thoughts and memories of the past, but makes you very reflective as we prepare to chat tonight. Very excited to join you, Rob. Thanks for asking, buddy.
Yeah, pal. I'm glad to have you, man. And it's always fun when you're on the show. Yeah, I wrote the intro and I'm like, I need something that's going to like encompass, memories. And it got a little dark, but then I brought it back up here and with the jam and all that. So
it gets a little dark at one point, where I was like, man, I remember the smells of certain foods. I want to jump off the roof now.
I might need to rewrite that, but
no, it's great. No, very cool. I love it. I love the concept. Love what you're doing. Very nice.
I appreciate it. Well, as the custom is here, whenever I have a guest on, they get to pick the topic that we will discuss, and you picked the 1986 New York Mets music video.
Yes, I did.
You sent me the making of it, which I watched earlier today just to get refreshed with it. And goddamn, pal, that song has been stuck in my head the entire day.
Well, like I told you in the message, welcome to my life. It's 24/7. That song's been stuck in my head for 35 years. There it is.
That's all I hear in my fucking sleep tonight. I mean, let's go, Mets go.
It's let me tell you something. It's when you talk about RTW Rewind, you talk about thoughts of the past, and we'll step out of the wrestling world for something. This to me, outside of all those great wrestling memories I have as a kid that age, it starts and ends with my love of the 86 Mets. And obviously people who know me know, my affinity for the Mets. I'm a huge Mets fan, but that team in particular being the last Mets championship, that's one thing. Just something about that team is so special. And this video kind of encapsulates it. And it's a time capsule, literally, of this moment, this 1986 moment. And it's, I can't tell you, it's not one of my favorite things in all the world.
It's a sore spot with me because, I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. And, well, this happened.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Oh, man. Every time.
Bill Buckner. One of the greatest defenseman of all time was getting up there in age. His back was messed up. He just made a mistake, and he was forever vilified in the city of Boston until about, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
They brought him back, and the crowd, the fans kind of forgave him. But man, as a 10-year-old kid, that was really, really tough for me to watch. But a lot of people forget that was only Game 6. The Red Sox
only Game 6. Yep,
could have won Game 7, and they didn't. But
no.
Do you remember up on the Shea Stadium board, it said, "Congratulations to the World Series champions, the Red Sox." They thought it was over before that.
Oh, yeah, the champagne and everything in the locker room. And the way that inning starts, it starts in such a somber tone from the Mets end because there's 2 quick outs. And they're starting to high five, and there you see the anticipation building, and you see Dave Henderson catches the ball. He's bracing himself. The Rockets in the bullpen, he's getting ready to lose his mind, and that's the game of baseball. You just can't predict what's going to happen next. It's not predetermined. It's life. It's real. It's out there, and man, it unfolds in such a way that Mets fan, Red Sox fan, baseball fan, you can appreciate a good comeback, and that's what that is, at the expense of a guy like a Bill Buckner, who really is a great all-time defenseman, great hitter. Just everything that he did before almost got wiped away by little roller up along first, behind the bag. And this guy, literally, who was never in the final outs of those innings in 86 because of defense, he's out there because they thought it was going to be it. You want your main guys on the field to celebrate, and you know they didn't pull him for Dave Stapleton, and the rest, as they say, is history.
You think Mookie would beat it out either way?
I think it's a photo finish. You know, it's really hard to say because it wasn't that far behind the bag. It's not like it was deep behind the bag. It really was only a couple of, inches behind the bag. He could have tripped.
He's fast, dude. I mean,
Mookie was busting it out of the box. Buckner could have fielded it clean and tripped.
Yep.
He could have flipped over Mookie trying to dive for first. You never know. But what helps that moment too, and the radio call is just as good, but you get a guy like Vin Scully, who's such an iconic voice in baseball, calling that play. It's the perfect storm of baseball, and that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I still remember Bob Stanley throwing beach balls over Rich Getman. So,
and it's a thing though. Like I've come across almost all these guys in my travels, and I've met Bob Stanley years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm talking like 2003, 2004 when I worked for the Phillies, and it's like you want to ask him about it.
Yeah.
But you don't. I worked, one of my first signings I ever worked was a Mookie Wilson, Bill Buckner signing in 2001.
No kidding.
You know why he was there. It's hard to not kind of talk about it when Buckner's there. But with Stanley, I just wanted to be like, what happened? Did you lose your grip? Was you a little sweaty? Was it just a bad call? Bad pitch selection? Yep. But, oh, man, it's crazy.
I mean, he was a solid middle relief, setup guy. I mean, he wasn't a bad pitcher, but who knows? Who knows what happens? But, dude, I'll give the Mets credit. They never gave up. It's almost the Patriots against the Falcons. Tom Brady and the team never gave up. They were never out of it, and they came back. I mean, there's huge and monumental comebacks in the history of all sports.
It took 6 minutes and 57 seconds for a Get My Go reference. Just if anybody knew, I was clocking it.
The timer. Okay, right. Well played.
Just kidding.
Watching the music video today, I didn't remember it. And I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up in Connecticut. I watched MTV all the time. I can't believe I did not remember this video at all. And maybe I just blocked it out of my memory because I didn't want to remember the 86 Mets, but I had no recollection of this video at all.
It's funny. They really kind of dominated the media scene, throughout New York, obviously. They were in all the print ads. They were all over, what do you call, Fifth Avenue. They were on billboards. But this isn't the only album they released that year. There's another one it's called Get Mesmerized. It's a rap album. Okay? I should have sent you that just as a reference point because it's 1980s rap in every sense of the word. But this was just different. This was really kind of piggybacking off of the Super Bowl shuffle of 1985. But this was a team that was 20 games up. And it really was a nudge right to the rest of the league. Like, this is what we got time to do now because we're so ahead. And, it didn't look good. But, this was played on MTV. There's a clip on YouTube of Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell with Martha Quinn. And they debut it. They play it. And it's, it was Mets fever, man. It was, they encapsulated that New York scene that season for sure.
Now, comparing them against the amazing Mets, what team do you think was better historically?
It's tough, man. That 69 team was that was a hard-nosed team too. This one, I mean, again, I don't know much about the 69 team outside of what I've read and talked to some guys. The 86 team I watched, I remember what they were like as players. It's hard to count out that 86 team just because of the grit. But, I mean, that 69 team had Tom Seaver. So, and Jerry Kuzman, and that's a hell of a duo, but this is also Doc, 1 year removed off of being 24-4. and a dominant pitcher. That starting rotation the Mets had in '86 was great, and then Darryl and Hernandez and Carter. I mean, it's tough. That's a tough call. I don't know if I'm the right person to make that judgment.
It's funny you talk about Tom Seaver. He was on the Red Sox roster in '86, and he refused to pitch against the Mets.
Yeah. Something else, right? Isn't that, but again, that's baseball. That the guy who got this franchise relevant, in his tenure, and it's funny to think, and I always say this to my wife all the time, 1986 ain't that far away from 1969, It's not that far off. So Seaver is still, hanging on as really his last season. He would try to come back with the Mets in '87 in spring training and retired.
Yeah.
But imagine that. He's sitting there watching all this from across the field, and I'm sure it hurt. I'm sure it bothered him because that's, this was his team. And he was there only a few years earlier again. He came back in '83. So,
according to one of your kinfolk here.
Yes, indeed.
He was hurt, not on the postseason roster. I don't know.
He would be, if anybody knows, it is my commenter there for sure. That's the man who introduced me to Let's Go Mets. So.
Oh, no kidding. All right, cool. Well, I guess maybe us Sox fans just heard it differently throughout the years that, Seaver didn't want to play. But if he was hurt, that's good. I mean, I'll take that as gospel coming from Mets fans. So Roger Clemens was hot during that time. And on the other side, you're right. Doc Gooden was, he was on fire.
Yeah.
It's funny. You look at both players' stats. They never really had big runs. Like Clemens had a couple of good years, but even when he won the Cy Young, I think he was like 18-11 or something like that. It's but his ERA was stupid. It was like
right, and it was the K's. It was the fire throwing that was coming out of his arm. The rocket was the rocket. And the thing with Doc was in 1984, 1985, 1986, that was the dominance of Dr. K. When he started to have some of the substance abuse issues starting in '87, there were glimpses of what we had seen the previous 3 years, but he just never put it back. He lost some juice on the fastball, and he was still very, very young at this point too. Very, very young. But by the time, 89, 90, he's starting to get a little more creative with the way he pitches and still striking out a ton of guys, but not the overpowering Dr. K that we had known, 84, 85, 86.
Yeah. But I mean, look, dude, I'll give the Mets credit. They were stacked. I mean, Gary Carter is one of my favorite players of all time, even though, I don't have a hatred for the Mets like I do for the Yankees, obviously. I think we both can agree that we hate the Yankees. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you can. Maybe I'm just putting words in your mouth. But.
It's weird. It's funny. Moving away from the New York area, I don't have that hatred that I had at one point for sure.
I still do.
That's fine. You can. I don't hate them. I strongly dislike them. Still, I don't hate them like I did when I lived in the tri-state. I don't. It's kind of dissipated a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. No. I mean, being born and bred a Red Sox fan, I was brought up to hate the Yankees. So no matter where I live in the world, I'm always going to hate them. Fun fact: Ron Darling, I'm actually kind of sort of related to by marriage. He's my father's first cousin. So
okay.
Obviously, I'll never meet him, but I mean, it's kind of a cool link. But,
is it like Spaceball style, like cousin, sister's former roommate, like one of those?
Yeah, one of those deals. But if you ever run by him,
he might be on the Chadster's old radar at some point. You never know.
Sid Fernandez, obviously, you've met him. You did signings with him. He was a great guy. Love his appearances on Seinfeld. I mean, the dude had
Keith Hernandez. You say Sid
Fernandez. Sorry,
Sid Fernandez.
Why do I get the two mixed up? Keith Hernandez, is very, very charismatic and a very, very handsome man.
Who does that guy think he is? No, he was. Keith is Keith. I mean, he's still on all the Met games now. He's probably the best color analyst, in my opinion, in baseball. He's the kind of guy who can call out the team for the mistakes they make, which a lot of baseball announcers don't do. They put the home team over. He'll call them out and tell them that was stupid. That was a bad play. And you got to respect it. But then as he sprinkles in little stories, it gets interesting and you get engaged because it's still Keith Hernandez.
No, for sure. Get my goes in the house. Super Bowl shuffle versus Let's Go Mets. I mean, I pretty much know where you stand, but Super Bowl Shuffle's pretty catchy.
I
as
mean,
well.
you gotta tip your cap to the original, for sure of that era. I mean, other teams did albums and records. The '69 Mets released a record after they won, but it just in that era, the '80s era of the VHS music videos. Super Bowl Shuffle again. Tip your cap. I mean, I could also tip my cap to the wrestling album if I wanted to.
True.
Because that's technically sports and entertainment. So I don't know. I mean, Super Bowl Shuffle. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple lines. I'm sure somebody from Chicago is gonna like that one more. So it's all good.
Oh, it's a greater than symbol. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, not a versus symbol. Sorry, there, man. That's my bad. That's on me. I was a big Lee Mazzilli fan. Obviously, Mookie and Darryl Strawberry were amazing. Lenny Dykstra had a great career. Dude, they were a good team. I mean, the Sox had a good team too, but did the better team win? In my opinion, I don't know. It's hard to beat the Red Sox too.
I don't know. I got to say the better team. I mean, the Mets dominated that year. I mean, I know the Red Sox had a great season, but it was like if the Mets did not win that World Series, I mean, it was all for naught. I mean, it really was. That team was born and bred to win that championship that year. It's again, that's me. That's a classic debate. You're a Boston fan. I'm a Met fan. But I guess if the Mets did not win that World Series, I shudder to think what the rest of the franchise history up to this point was like, because they needed that championship that year. Lock, stock, and barrel.
No, I mean 100%. No, you are right about that. Me just growing up as a fan, I'll always remember guys like Oil Can Boyd and Clemens and Bruce Hurst and Al Nipper and Stanley and Trujillo, all those guys. Obviously, Wade Boggs was fantastic. Marty Barrett was kind of a Jim Rice. Jim Rice, fantastic player. Dwight
Evans, Dave Henderson. I mean, they were stacked too. There's no shortage of stars on either side. It's just the Red Sox are lucky they beat the Angels. So and the Mets are lucky they beat the Astros. The playoffs to get to the World Series was almost as riveting as that World Series was. So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Watching the making of the video, did Davey want to be somewhere other than right there? Because
right, he doesn't say much in it. He just kind of looks around and smiles.
Yeah, but I was reading his body language, like, what the fuck? I just want to play baseball. Like, what are we doing?
You see it. I mean, a lot of those guys were young, so you see the enthusiasm. But it's such an odd place to be. One of my favorite parts. I love all 24 minutes and 33 seconds of it. But the part where they're in the locker room in Philadelphia and they play it for them for the first time, and you just see the reactions, and nobody knows what to think. Gary Carter's kind of grooving, moving his head a little bit, and they're just kind of laughing at it. It's like, well, what the hell were they supposed to think? They're this team, this Major League Baseball team, and now they got a song that they are going to now be lip syncing, on a loop. It's I can't imagine what was going through some of their heads of like, really, we really got to do this. Similar to like the wrestlers with the wrestling album, like we got to sing now, we got to dance, we got to be characters.
Oh, Vince loved it. Vince McMahon didn't mind singing on any of the stuff he ever did, like Stand Back and all that shit.
Love it. Love Stand Back. Those things are great. I mean, look, we got great classics like Jive Store Bro, from Pile Driver. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's, it's classic either way.
Ray Knight sure seemed like he had a good time. I mean, like he was young. He was another good looking guy. He was a little kind of a farm boy, right? Was he a Southern guy?
Ray Knight, was a Golden Gloves boxer. He was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was very into the making of the music video. Was loving the camera. He thought he was up there for the best rhythm on the team. One of the greatest Met questions of all time. Who's got the best rhythm? Well, is it Mookie Wilson? Is it Ray Knight? Is it Darryl Strawberry? They all thought they had it, but no, Ray Knight. Another one on the team where he was such a pivotal part. And that team had a kind of aggressive side to them and started a lot of fights. And the big one is Ray Knight and Eric Davis in Cincinnati in '86. And you see Ray Knight pull back those Golden Gloves and pop Eric Davis right in the face.
It wasn't like Pedro Martinez and
Don Zimmer. No,
okay.
that was like a hip toss. The Don Zimmer.
Or A-Rod and Veritek.
No offense to the great Don Zimmer, original Met. What do you expect if you're charging somebody? You think we're just gonna?
He's a 70-year-old guy or whatever, too, right?
El Toro'd him like, see ya. He was a Royal Rumble entrant and went woo right out of there.
Yeah, was it the Warlord that was in there for like 2 seconds?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Joe Piscopo, very funny guy.
Yes, indeed.
How the hell did he get involved in that? Just because he's from New York?
Because he's Joe Piscopo, and it's 1986,
there.
And Joe Piscopo in 1986 equals money. Yeah. And he is, to me, one of the best parts of the entire making of him with the rolled up shirt and the gun sticking out in the music video, walking his kid around, in the batting cage. I mean, he is, it makes the making of what it is. Those are like in the celebrities, they'd kind of intersplice throughout it. Joe Piscopo in 86, man, that's money. Come on.
No, it's true. And I have to kind of take myself back there. But that really kind of legitimized the whole thing because he was a big star.
The big story. It was his thing, the big story. Mets, 86. Exciting, thrilling, awesome.
Then you had other appearances like Gene Shalit, who I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That ever.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Klein, another New York comedian who he's kind of a dry-witted guy. I was never a big fan of his, but
hysterical when I watch those things. He's hilarious, especially that dry New York wit. That again, people outside of New York might not like it because this is very New York centric. Now, when they were doing the closing of the video and they show the little cards with all the celebrities in it, did you notice one of my former employers is in the one of those boxes?
No, who was it?
You did not notice one king of all media, Howard Stern, wearing a blue satin Mets jacket in the opening credits of Let's Go Mets?
No, I missed that. Now I gotta go and check that out.
When they show at the end of the video, they show all the celebrities, mouthing "Let's Go Mets." One of them is Howard Stern in a blue, one of those old school satin jackets with the big Met symbol right there. Howard Stern pointed at the camera, "Let's go Mets."
Brian says Bob Costas douche chill segment. Yes, Bob, God love him. One of the greatest, announcers of all time. He's kind of a dick.
In all of his dickheadery, Bob Costas was very young at the time and very consumed with trying to get over some of those Bob Costas isms at that point, almost developing his own language.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Who else was in it? The guy that played Barney Miller. My dad loved that fucking show.
That
was a random
it's random. I mean, and again, I would love to have seen the casting call.
Yeah.
Who are we going to get? Like literally in New York, you might have seen Robert Klein just walking by and be like, "You got 5 minutes? Come here. Yeah. What do you think about the Mets?" But that's the beauty of it, bro. I mean, the team took over the city. And people were lining up and trying to go. I mean, Christy Brinkley was at the games. Billy Joel was at the games, even though he's a Yankee fan. Matthew Broderick's a huge Met fan. I mean, Glenn Close. This was a big deal to be a Met fan in '86. And that video shows all those celebrities. You walk around any New York street, you'd see them. And they're probably wearing their satin Met jacket, just like Howie was.
Right. It was funny to see two members of Twisted Sister there, but not Dee Schneider.
I still, to this day, I watch every Twisted Sister video being like, which one is this guy?
Yeah.
Because can we get a name? It's Twisted Sister. And they have the worst part. They suck.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't know who actually, performed the song. It sounded, everything kind of sounded like in the 80s, but it sounded a little bit Twisted Sister-ish. So I thought maybe they did it. So when they showed them on the clips, I'm like, oh, that's who it was. But then I watched the credits and like, the fuck was that guy?
Oh, man, that is Studio Musician City. This entire album, which is only like 3 or 4 actual tracks.
Right.
It's not anything. It's not a Mets epic. It's just the same track 3 or 4 times.
Nothing says entertainment like Melba Moore.
Hey, she gives you her scream at the end. That's pretty much all she was good for. So Melba Moore.
I literally had no idea who she was at all.
You got to look her up. Yeah. Melba Moore, big Doc Gooden fan. If you watch Let's Go Mets, the making of.
What happened to Doc? I mean, was it just the substance abuse issues? He never really had like a big comeback.
Well, he did. No, well, 96 when he came back with the Yankees. So he was suspended from Major League Baseball in 94. So he
Right.
sat out all of 1995. And George Steinbrenner, being the smart man he was, started to bring back these reclamation projects from the Mets. Brought back Strawberry.
Mm.
He brought back Doc. He saw what they did 10 years earlier. Doc pitches a no-hitter as a Yankee, and that hurts. That still hurts, and working with Doc, it hurts to see him sign the picture because he wasn't supposed to pitch a no-hitter for the Yankees. He's supposed to do that for the Mets. But basically after 96, 97, he kind of fell off, and again, it's a short career for a guy who was ready to, straight right to the Hall of Fame. And it's just a shame. Wasted talent. It's a horrible thing, but he's the man. Doc is the absolute man.
Didn't Darryl Strawberry have similar issues?
Darryl's had a lot of issues, but Darryl now has completely kicked out at 2 and has changed his whole entire life. He's a minister now. I mean, he's out preaching to youth groups and
a real minister.
Yeah,
not one of those guys that get his license in a crackerback.
No charlatan to be found.
Gotcha. Well, no, it's good to hear that he turned his life around like that because I was a huge fan watching him play. I mean, the guy could knock the cover off the ball, and he was just a great player.
He absolutely was. You can't deny some of those moon shots that this guy could hit. And still, even up to the mid 2000s, if he would come in as a roving instructor to a minor league camp, they'd hand him a bat in batting practice, and you'd see Darryl moonshots, in like 2005 if you went to Brooklyn during batting practice for the Cyclones.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that the team didn't really have the same success after that. I mean, what do you think attributed to them, never really getting back to the dance?
Until
months later on, like the Subway Series. Obviously.
In '87, injuries killed them. They were pretty much one bad pitch away from being there again in '87. In '88, they were probably almost more dominant than they were in '86 record-wise, but had injuries and a devastating loss to the Dodgers in the playoffs. And basically, after the '89 season, they dismantled it, and everybody was gone. Lenny and Roger McDowell traded the Phillies. Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter were released because they were pretty much done by '89. And after 1990, Darryl walks and goes to the Dodgers. Much to the dismay of myself, but to the enjoyment of guys like my buddy Chad from Music City Toys, who Darryl Strawberry was his favorite player of all time, and him coming to the Dodgers that's a big deal. But by 1991, the only guys that were left were Doc, Sid Fernandez, Ron Darling, but they were not the same guys they were 6 or 7 years earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's too bad. I mean, they could have had a dynasty if they didn't
if there's a wild card, completely different story. If there's a wild card in '87 and '88 and '89 and '90, they're there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. In '85, they almost won 100 games.
Right.
And as a second place team, no wild card, so they had to go home and play golf when the Cardinals moved on.
You gotta love the enthusiasm though from the '86 team. I mean, they really were just happy-go-lucky guys, like they said in the video. Like we're just who said it? Was it McDowell? We're just normal guys.
Yeah, normal guys. Yep.
We just happen to be in the spotlight, and people look up to us. But I mean, we're just goofy, regular guys. I mean, it kind of showed too. I mean, they really loved each other. Like just watching the highlight videos and all that of them, doing walk-offs or anything like that, and they're just high-fiving, hugging each other, jumping up and down, just having fun playing baseball.
They fight like they fight like thieves. They play on the field. They play their butts off. They have each other's backs. Was there turmoil behind the scenes? Absolutely, but on the field is where it counts. And sometimes those guys that don't always love each other or get along in every sense make the best teams. There's a book called The Bad Guys Won. Gives you the kind of background of what was going on behind the scenes. And the bad guys won. And whereas I don't love some of the glorifying of some of the more tawdry stuff. I like the stories, like you're saying, the better stories. I don't always feel like it has to go that tawdry route, but them destroying the charter plane on the way back from Houston and guys blowing lines off the toilet seat in the bathroom, and the wives partying just as hard as the players. You can't not get behind a story like that.
Yeah,
and there's going to be a really, really big ESPN documentary series coming out similar to the Jordan one about this 86 team. And I kind of shudder to think what's going to be on it because, this could either be a kind of burial of the legacy or an enhancement of just showing you how great these guys were.
Troy from the Brands in the house. What's up, Troy?
Troy, the Yankee fan representation will allow it tonight as long as he's kind and he keeps himself in check.
He should. He's not one of those Yankee fans. He's actually a nice guy. So
he's a perfectly rated.
He is perfectly rated. There's been a lot of dark documentaries lately. Whether it was the Ric Flair 30 for 30, the China documentary that just came out, or Macho Man getting buried on biography. I mean, it's like
it's hard. It's hard.
Like a nice story. Like if they can accentuate the positives of the Mets, I mean, I'm sure they'll cover some of this shit, that was in the book. But I'd like to see an enlightening, like how great that team was and how great their chemistry was on the field.
Yeah, I would love that too. I'd love to see the dominance, but we know what sells. The dirt sells, the drugs sell, the alcohol sells. That's going to absolutely be the driving force. But the story needs to be told. But like you're saying with the Macho Man piece, I sat and watched that with my jaw hanging down. What they were doing to this poor guy, and it's another reason why. And it might not be a popular thought. And Francine and I talk about this all the time on Eyes Up Here. I don't really love the killer, hardcore bad stuff that they put out there. Dark Side
of the Ring. Yeah.
No, I think Dark Side of the Ring is incredibly done. I mean, I can watch every one of them. I think that they're excellent.
The boys don't like it, though. The boys hate it.
I just can't get behind it. And this is a guy I've seen hundreds of shoot interviews where those same stories are being told directly from the guys,
right.
True or false, depending on who you're listening to. But it's just something about it that when you're introducing it to fans that don't know the subject matter the way, us longer term fans do, I just think it's not great for the overall product, whether it's wrestling or baseball or, the Jordan documentary. For all the great triumphs of MJ, we heard about all the bad stuff, and that's fine. That's great. But something like there's a dark side of football.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see a dark side of baseball. I'm sure there is one, but I try to keep it all, fluffy ducks and roses when I think about America's pastime.
Watching Jordan's Hall of Fame acceptance speech was amazing because at that time, I didn't know he was that much of a douchebag. Flying in the guy that replaced him on his high school team just to sit in the front row for him to watch him get inducted into that's some petty shit, dude. Like, and then listen to him bury like Isaiah and all the guys. Like,
hey, sometimes people think they're right in their decisions, and it's definitely harsh. It's definitely cruel. It's not something I would do. Well, maybe I would actually. There's a couple people out there I like to give the old.
Yeah,
I like to give the old nudgeroonie too, if I ever felt so inclined.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Look, I mean, I love Jordan growing up. I still think he's the greatest basketball player of all time. But yeah, just funny to see that side of him. He's also a degenerate gambler. I saw him at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut quite a few times at the high stakes tables, just all night long. They even put a steakhouse in there named after him because he spent so much money there. So,
hey, and if anybody's got a Michael Jordan ball that they're looking to get rid of, absolutely hit up the Chadster. I just want to point out, so I see the comment down here. Troy says the China doc was brutal, so damn sad. It's like we've heard for years about the footage that was out there. That this, director or the guy who essentially, led to her being dead, in my opinion.
He admitted it.
Yeah, I've I haven't seen the documentary yet, but we've heard about this. Sorry. It's okay. I'll catch it at some point. But to me, it just I like the story of China. Some insight to parts of it, but I just don't know how bad I want to see that, that it is such a decline of her legacy and all that bad stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. They'll call me a sap sometimes. Maybe if the mood strikes, I'll check it out. But
yeah, I mean, Triple H really fucked her up too. So say what you want about him and that family, but
I won't.
But I mean, no, it sucks because she got a lot of heat, obviously, for being a tough woman, being a masculine-looking woman. Obviously, she went through all the physical, surgeries and changes to try to, break that stigma. But I mean, a lot of people say that she thought she was a star. She thought she was bigger than the rest. But in that world, in that environment, she was never going to get over, Jericho and Austin. And
it's hard not to think it, though, at the time, Rob. I mean, especially going back to the early 2000s where it was so different, in terms of how you just think, I close my eyes, you see the TV guide, that she was on, and the doing the Playboy shoot and having these big spots, the Royal Rumble and the Intercontinental title. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not have that manifestation in your head of, I am this giant star. And sometimes people think as a star, I got to act a certain way. And unfortunately in wrestling, when you act a certain way and people don't agree with it, that gets you heat. And that's the unfortunate part. And, she was done dirty for sure on the way out. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to really see this ending, in the way that it's portrayed.
Troy says Vince was the only one who called out the WWE for the way they treated her. He did.
He did perfectly rated, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree. Anything that Vince,
he really did.
Anything that Vince ever said about her, especially when the one interview that he's got with her on the channel. Yeah. I mean, it's that's, to me, they should have just put that on the documentary and just let the tape roll, because that's everything you wanted to know. I mean, it was so well done and perfectly rated.
Yeah,
mind you. Of the great Vince Russo.
I was waiting for a comp shirt, but apparently I haven't gotten one yet. So
I don't know. It's one of those things. We don't give everything away for free. These things were selling like hotcakes at one point. So
no, for real. And it's so funny that you got that over from Get My Go. And Eli, who was in the house, I don't know if he's still here, and made that.
Eli and I talked quickly. I told him the idea that I had for it, and he got it exactly the way I wanted it. And it's so taken on a life of its own, in terms of people picking up on it. And I love it because now, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I know people have said it too, I can't say those words anymore together combined. I can't do it because I hate it so much. I can't put those two over and under words connected to the other word that's on this shirt. I can't do it.
And I love the fact that people will see other threads on Twitter, and like me, I do the same thing. I'll just tag you in it. Like, Chad, what do you think of this? Just to bring you into it. It's so fun.
And if I'm bored, I have a lull, in my day. Just type in WWE underrated or wrestling underrated, and bro, it writes itself, the material. I mean, it's the same stuff over and over and over. And oh my goodness gracious. But one thing, let's get back to the topic here.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, as a first-time viewer of this just absolute magical piece of my history, my childhood. Really, I'm not kidding. From even a production point, I studied this tape just to see the different things they were doing. You see behind the scenes of how they did on-field camera work, how they do the pantomiming pitching that they feature in the beginning. What did you take away from it as a first-time viewer? Did you think it was a little over the top? Did you think that it was kind of perfectly rated and it did fit this team well? What did you think?
It was perfectly 1986. I will say that, at least from a music perspective. I did like the behind the scenes stuff and to see how they filmed certain things and what went through the producers and directors' heads. I love, was it Mookie on first and they tell him to steal?
Yes.
A real tight shot of his eyes looking at the pitcher. He wasn't there, obviously. But I mean, that intensity was amazing. But then watching him, think of a pitcher you don't like, whatever, and he's like, oh, there could be a lot of those guys. But that was such a cool shot. And then doing the handheld, following him down, at a foot level, watching him run.
Right.
That's cool shit, dude. I like watching stuff like that. The pantomime pitching. He's like, you don't even have to throw it, but he did.
Which we don't really like for pitchers. We don't want them to go into a full windup. This is another complaint of myself and my uncle. We don't want them pretending to throw because, God forbid, one little move and that's their arm or their elbow.
Yeah, for a music video too, right? I mean, yeah, they would have had some heat for that. I don't know if it was Dykstra or who was out and jumping off the wall and pretending.
That was Dykstra. Yep.
Pretending to catch, take a home run away.
That jersey that they're wearing, the blue batting practice jersey, is my favorite jersey of all time.
Do you have one?
I do have a couple. I got Lenny. I have a couple signed. I got a Gary Carter one. That's the Saturday casual attire.
Yeah.
But now I got Hernandez, Dykstra. I think I have Doc. I got a couple.
Yeah, I do too. I still have a Manning jersey somewhere. And
should I bring out my hat now?
Nice. Make the dream work. I thought that saying was, I didn't know it was that old because, it became a thing 4 or 5 years ago that people say it all the time. But when I heard it in the song, I was like, teamwork makes the dream work. I didn't know it dated all the way back to that era.
You got to be a deep cut fan to have a hat.
For real. No, for real.
Hang on. I got some other little props here for you. How about this? Right there.
You get the videotape. Nice.
There it is. This is the what you watched today in its VHS form. Okay. Hold on. Hang on. Ready? How about that guy?
You get the cassette tape of the album. That's awesome.
This I've had since the early 90s. I didn't get it till the early 90s on cassette. I used to wear out my uncle's tapes. I don't know if we can see it here. If you see it, there is the album.
Yeah.
Or as my favorite Vince Russo would say, the album. There's the album. So I'm representing Let's Go Mets big time tonight for sure.
I love it, dude. The production assistant telling Mookie you're bad. Dude, chills me.
He's right. That's another one of our. My uncle and I. This is stuff that we could just literally text back and forth, or when we're around each other, the same quotes that we've been saying for 35 years.
Troy loves the fresh lids. He's always surfing the web for.
It's always Chad. This one right here that I'm wearing. That was a Troy find, the Hat Club or Hat Heaven.
Cool.
One of those.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Hell yeah.
I love watching the producer fire up the crowd, like telling them to chant, like put your hands up and cheer, chant "Let's go Mets" and all that, and like seeing 60,000 people being controlled by one guy. Like he said, they don't even know who the hell I am, but they were going crazy for it. Like the fucking fans were rabid, dude.
Oh, it's great moment. Now, Shelly Palmer, the guy who was the producer, he got tagged in something of mine on Facebook. Like 10 years ago. I don't know how. It was like a friend of a friend tagged him. Say, oh, this is my friend who did that. And I got a chance to say to him in a Facebook post, thank you for all these years of enjoyment. And I tried to get him on Diamond Conversations. I haven't had any luck. He's a really big, talking head in the tech world.
Mm-hmm.
And you see he pops up on CNBC a lot and some really high tech, talking shows, podcasts. And man, that was probably a highlight of his life. They were going ape shit for him that day with that orange shirt on. He's getting them all jazzed up, and they're blowing. If there was a roof, they've always said this. I had a conversation today about it. If there was a roof on Shea Stadium, they could have blown it off that day.
I miss Shea Stadium. I was able to go as a young kid. They played this. I don't remember who they played. My dad just decided to take us to a game. I think it was like 5 or 6, but I still remember going there and just remember the place being massive to me as a young kid.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool place. I do miss it.
I miss
it too.
I miss it big time. It was, we always say it was a shithole, but it was our shithole. It was It was a cavernous place, but man, the history in there. And I was just talking about this with John last night. John Paz and I went to a playoff game in 2006, and it was probably the best seats I ever had at Shea Stadium. And this was game 1 of the NLDS against the Dodgers. And there's a really iconic play that takes place where the catcher Paul LaDuca tags 2 guys out at home plate on one play.
Yep.
And I remember being there with John like it was yesterday. The place was going bananas. It was like you're high-fiving strangers. People are hugging, and this is the first inning, but it was just something about that ballpark that just could draw you in and just make it such a special moment. And not that Citi Field doesn't have it. I was at Citi Field in April. Citi Field has started to grow on me a little bit, but it's not Shea, and it'll never be Shea.
No, it never will be. And that's like, the old Yankee Stadium, which I was able to go to. I saw Yankees and the Sox play. We set up in the nosebleeds, but I didn't care. And I hated the Yankees, but it was still cool to be at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, I agree.
And it was a shithole too.
Yeah.
But to me, nothing beats Fenway. Say what you want about the owners and how they're acting now with all the SJW stuff, but they put a lot of money into that ballpark. and they really tried to preserve the history of it and add to it and still try to keep the integrity of Fenway Park, adding the monster seats, adding other seats, redoing some of the wooden seats and all that. And, I still love going there. I mean, to me, it's still one of my favorite places on earth. It's a magical place.
When I was in Boston 2 weeks ago, I drove by it. I didn't get a chance to go. They played that night too. I didn't think I was going to be in Boston for the night. My plane got canceled 3 times.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I would have just hopped over there. I think they're playing the Blue Jays that night, or the Astros. They're playing the Astros. And it was the closest I got to it was driving by. But Yankee Stadium for me, I was there a handful of times. I think I was, I want to say, I was there with John Paz. We went to a game where the Yankees blew the Mets out like 20-4. Mets go up 4-0 in the first inning on a grand slam by Carlos Beltran. Loving it. Greatest. They get killed, right? Yeah. And I just look around the place and I just remember going, this place is terrible. Who would watch a baseball game here? This is an awful place to see. Let's just get out of here. I'm never coming back. It just never did it for me. And that's nothing against the Yankee history. Nothing.
I mean, I hope you get a chance to go to a game at Fenway. I mean, maybe we can fly up there at some point and hook up and watch a game together. That would be really cool. But I mean, it's just, the Sweet Caroline thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a hokey, is kind of a touristy thing now, but it's still fun watching drunk people, singing their lungs off to Sweet Caroline, or, just to smell the ballpark. I mean, I just love baseball. And baseball was my first love. Football's kind of taken over in later years, but, just to smell the food and the atmosphere and, just fresh cut grass. And it's, I don't know, dude. There's nothing like baseball, and I think of memories of my, going to games with my dad, watching a walk-off double from Big Papi, and everybody's going fucking bullshit and all that. Or, I got to see Barry Bonds hit a home run at Fenway and, late in his carerer, which was a cool thing that I got to witness that, even though it was, he's probably on the juice at that point. But,
that's right.
It's still, I mean, there's a lot of good memories tied to baseball, a lot of bad years too for the Red Sox and the Mets, but a lot of good memories too.
It's weird. It's a similar story to me, with wrestling. I did not go to my first wrestling show live until 1996.
Yeah,
okay? Almost 10 years. For baseball, I didn't go to my first game until 1990, and my first games were in Philly. When my dad took us down to the Vet, because we lived basically in between the Vet and Shea. I didn't go to Shea till 1993 for the first time, but then it was every year from 93 to when it closed in 2008. That I was there 2, 3, 4 times a year. My first apartment was across the street from a ferry that went right and docked outside of Shea Stadium. My wife and I would just get there on a Saturday. We'd spend the extra $25 to take the ferry, and we would just sail right off to Shea Stadium. So it's something about baseball, and especially this 80s time that we're talking about, that it'll always hold such a special place for me. And I think about, I just did this show with Mike Durbin the other day talking about the Superpowers action figures. And if I was to sum up my childhood, it's the 86 Mets, the Superpowers action figures, and the WWF. That's my entire childhood right there.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the same for me. Just, add the Red Sox into it. But yeah, I mean, just there's nothing like watching a game with your best friends or your dad or whatever, like, especially your dad. Like, dude, real cool story as we wrap it up here. I think it was 2012. No, 2000. I don't know. I'm old. I forget dates. There's a Father's Day at Fenway, and it was the first time they actually let anybody go on the field. And we were able to go in the outfield and play catch, like, and to talk about, like, Field of Dreams.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
You want to have a catch, but I don't know if you ever saw the movie Fever Pitch.
Mm-hmm.
when they ask him, like, oh, you got in the field, what did the grass feel like? He's like, it was really spongy or whatever. Like, it was kind of like, people always wonder, like, the fabled Fenway grass. Like, what my dad and I got to go out in the outfield, which they never let anybody do. Yeah. They let the fathers and sons go out there and toss a ball around. It was the coolest thing I've ever done. We got to sit in the dugout, we got to walk around the warning track and touch the monster. But I mean, nothing beats playing catch with my dad in the outfield of Fenway Park. It was incredible.
Very special. That's very special. I have a similar story, not to the point of playing catch. Very, very fortunate through another family member who was working for the NYPD at the time. in 2000 got to take a tour of Shea Stadium while the Mets were in Houston for a road series. And the same thing, my brother, my dad, we got to sit in the dugout. We got to go in the bullpen. We got to sit on the bullpen, porch that they have. We got to sit in the dugout. We got to call on the bullpen phone. And there's a picture of my dad, my brother, and I in all of our year 2000. I got giant jean shorts on where they basically were capri pants. They're so big and baggy. But it's the three of us at home plate, with Shea in the background. And I don't know why I don't have that framed in my basement here, but I got to add that because it is such a moment that I'll never forget. My brother was like 8 years old. I was 16, 17. And it just is something, man. It's just like you'll never, especially the fact Shea is gone, you'll never have the back. You can go stand in the parking lot of Citi Field and stand on home plate, and I can recreate the picture. Yep. But yeah, man, that's a great moment you just shared. I just also, speaking of sharing, also did want to say I do have the Bad Guys one. It was right here on the bookshelf next to me. What a funny coinky dink.
Chad says the Subway Series is coming up July 2nd to the 4th. Hope you're going to watch. Yeah, I'm sure if you have
Troy
time.
You said Chad said. Troy said.
Oh, Troy. Did I say Chad?
Yes. Troy may want to change his name, though. It is a good name.
Dementia, dude. I'm telling you.
Troy, for sure. I mean, look, it's a, you always got to look forward to the Subway Series, no matter what. It's lost a little luster that it's now a every year, it used to be one series, you look forward to the one series. Now it's twice a year. And it used to be in June. Now it's in July. It's also in September. It's been in, May. Like they've changed it around a lot. But in the early days of Interleague, 98, 90, those games
were insane. Yeah, I mean,
those games were intense, bro. I mean, crazy.
I mean, you look at this year on the other side, Sox getting Alex Cora back. They're now in first place. They're a game and a half up on the Rays. And
yeah, crazy.
Sorry, Troy, but 5.5 up from the Yankees, who are they just don't want to win this year.
Who would be the Red Sox interleague rival? Would it be somebody that beat them in the World Series, or would it be? I mean, because there's not like a
history with St. Louis, obviously over the years. I'm sure there's bad blood on St. Louis's part there. From the Red Sox beating them, several times, but especially shutting them out in 2004. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Dodgers too. I mean, there's kind of a kindred,
classic teams. Cubs perhaps with the the drought. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, and I really don't know. Like, there really isn't any bad blood except for with the Yankees. I mean, maybe the Rays in later years, but interleague wise, as far as National League teams, I don't remember them really hyping up anything, to be quite honest. But I mean, Boston went on a really good run in the last, 10, 15 years too. So
it's not like you say Mets, Red Sox to me on paper, and they'll play the clips of Buckner, but it's like it doesn't do it for me. It's like, oh yeah, they're playing the Red Sox, they're playing the Rays, they're playing the Blue Jays. It's like, give me if they gave me the Yankee series once every other year, I would love that because then it would be intense. But it's kind of killed the rivalry. The only thing, Troy, that we can look forward to is if the schedules line up perfectly and you get DeGrom and Garrett Cole. That's the only thing I think at this point is worth with the Subway Series. So we shall see.
Yeah, no, we shall see. Chad, I appreciate being here, brother. Always fun to talk something other than wrestling, which is actually, other than Get My Go, probably the first thing we've done.
This could have been one of the most positive experiences I've ever had. And the show I did with Durban the other day about the superpowers figures, that was another, like, I'm on a string of positive shows where it's like lighthearted and fun and not like, you walk away like with a sweat, like, whoa. Man, oh man, but no, man, I appreciate you inviting me to come on and talk. And you told me pick the topic, and I wanted to switch it up. I thought this would have been really cool, so I appreciate you playing along and watching the music video.
No, absolutely, dude, and I actually enjoyed it. I really did. It kind of gave me a newfound respect for the team, just seeing the camaraderie and all that. Even if there was turmoil behind the scenes, I was never privy to that. I don't know about any of that until you actually brought it up here tonight. I might actually do some digging into that and maybe, go down the rabbit hole there, but it was just fun to see a nice, lighthearted 1980s music video with baseball in it. I mean, you can't beat that.
For sure. And you can still get it on eBay, go buy the VHS. I have not converted it to DVD. For some reason, I have not. I do have it digitally saved, though, in case this tape kind of spits the bit. I have all my METS VHS converted, all the commercial tapes. I've got a huge library of sports VHS needing to be converted that would blow your mind, Rad Rob, if you saw sports VHS that I have. I'm a VHS collector in every sense of the word, and I go after all the highlight videos that have been released over the years. And I've actually started to dabble in recorded videos if people still have those saved. My uncle's given me his whole entire collection. I grabbed my dad's stuff, pulling commercials. Oh, bro, we get lost.
I love commercials, and I hated back in the day. Like I skipped most commercials. You know, I paused the video and hit record when the shows came back. But I like going on YouTube and watching. There's actually like an 80s commercial video channel on YouTube that just plays nothing.
I'll tell you something really funny. I know we're running out of time here, but this is really funny. So one of the tapes I converted had a WCW, I believe, Wild Thing pay-per-view ad.
Oh, 1990.
Right? From 1990, right? It was a rap song, right?
Yeah.
I threw my little, my little watermark that I have for when I convert stuff, and if I post it on YouTube somewhere. I was watching a wrestling compilation of commercials from 1990. They ripped off my video.
No shit.
Complete with my watermark. I was like, hey, what are you doing?
That's funny. What are the odds of that, right?
What are the odds I was going to see it?
Yeah, no.
But I can't say anything because, obviously it's a tribute that I converted it from my personal collection. Transformative content, of course.
Yes, no, we're all about the transformative content and fair use. 100.
I think I turned my stopwatch off.
Yeah, I have a big wrestling VHS collection, stuff that I taped over the years that I've been carrying around for 30 years and 6 or 8 totes that my wife is actually finally making me get rid of. She's like, the network has all this stuff. I'm like, well, they don't have the pre-shows. They don't have the commercials. They don't have
man. It's hard. Like that, but I've lost them. It's like every move I've had in the last 10 years, I've kind of purged a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got a customer from Florida that sends me boxes of VHS tapes, all wrestling stuff. I mean, we're talking Attitude Era Raws, incomplete with the commercials, and you put it on and you drool. You're like, wow, and look at these. This is gold right here. So
yeah. No, it's good stuff, and I held on to some of it. Some stuff that you can't get anywhere else, especially with Peacock now. You can't even get the full unedited footage because they're cutting out certain bits. But we can go down a whole nother rabbit hole.
Oh, we could for sure.
Compare wrestling tape collections. Troy, thanks for being here. Your uncle, I'm assuming that your Uncle Brian that was hanging out in chat too.
He's my man.
Thank everybody for hanging around. Chad, where can we find you on social media and let everybody know what you got going on?
Absolutely. At Chad EMB, Instagram and Twitter. My website is ibexclusives.com. You have all the private baseball and wrestling signings when the wrestling pops up on there. If you're looking to send an item in you have from your personal collection, if you've got something maybe you want to purchase from me, whatever we can do for you, it's ibexclusives.com. The podcast, it's all over the place. I'll start Diamond Conversations. My baseball interview podcast is on the Creative Control Network. Every week, it's a new interview with somebody from the world of baseball, kind of going down more in the, I guess, I'm trying to stay away from just the Mets stuff, but we always go back to the Mets. There's going to be more Mets coming in the next couple of weeks. So trying, but stuck in the Met rabbit hole again. For all the stuff I do with the TMPT Empire, my beloved TMPT Empire, it's TMPTempire.com. I have a show called New Generation Declassified that is dropping every single Wednesday. Thank you very much. You've been on it. It's a great look back at the 90s wrestling through a different lens. We're not experts. We're not claiming to be experts. We're fans looking back saying, does it hold up? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But new episode every Wednesday on the TMPT Empire. Also through that TMPT Empire website, you check out all the stuff we got going on with the brand. John's got a bunch of content with the brand, and we've also got our Triple Threat podcast with the franchise Shane Douglas. Every week Shane delivers his own brand of franchise podcasting, and there's only one franchise, and you get it every week on Triple Threat. And of course, Eyes Up Here with the Queen of Extreme, Francine. On Patreon, we got 4 episodes per week. We got 3 extras and a main show. you will absolutely get your money's worth if you come join us. Francine could not be any more accommodating to her patrons. We've got some, that's for sure. We don't just make them up. We've got patrons, and she absolutely she will roll out the red carpet. Rad Rob, you know what that's all about. But it's patreon.com/Francine podcast. I appreciate everybody. If you ever listen to anything I've done or watch Get My Go, anything I've done, I can't thank you enough. You make everything worth it. And that's all I got tonight. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, dude. It's always fun to talk to you. I'm so glad we've been able to hook up over the last few months and get to know each other and do several different shows together. It's always a good time. Get My Go is obviously, a shared love of ours. It's kind of how we hooked up. Yes, Big Josh is in the house. Chadster is huge and monumental. That is,
you know what? And Big Josh, you are perfectly rated. Oh, the t-shirt, ibexclusives.com as well. Can't forget them. I'll restock. If people want them, I'll restock. I sold out, Rad Rob, I sold out two runs of the perfectly rated t-shirt. So
you're kidding. That's awesome. No, that's really cool. I mean, for just something of a joke. You if you're good, you get anything over.
Thank you, everybody, for sure.
Lab Rat, what's up, buddy? Yeah, this show is perfectly rated. You guys know where to find me. Rad Rob Gaming all over the place. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I have a gaming channel, Twitch. Just search Rad Rob Gaming. If you're interested in retro gaming, definitely check that out. Next week we have Jojo Feeney coming on. We haven't set up a topic yet because, well, Chad, you know how lazy Joe is.
Never say that. He's a hardworking man in my eyes.
No, he is a hardworking man.
What's his ass for me? I'm a big Joe Feeney guy.
We're all Joe Feeney guys. In fact, that needs to be a new t-shirt. I'm a Joe Feeney guy. Yeah, I mean, I'll trust me. I'll get your. No,
I'm saying he's perfectly rated too. I don't.
I
just don't want to keep beating it home. I just don't want to beat it home.
I thought you were trying to give me a cue to buy your shirt. I will.
That's the subliminal messaging tonight. I'll just keep pointing in different ways like this.
I love it. Thanks everybody here hanging out in the Hameen Media Group chat on YouTube. Appreciate you all. The audio version of this podcast will drop a week from this Sunday. I'm trying to get shows in the can because the wife is getting a little angry that I podcast too much to pull the curtain back. But yeah, no, I mean, you know how it is, dude. It's hard being a family man and working for a living and then coming to do our hobbies and our stuff like that. So it's a fine line that we have to walk. But I know you're a busy guy, and I do appreciate your time. So anytime you want to have me back on New Generation Declassified, I'd be happy to talk some mid-90s wrestling with you.
Never know.
All right, guys, thanks for watching, and thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Take care, guys.